Let's analyze it from the beginning, not in terms of historical reciprocity, but on October 8th, 7th, 8th, what should have happened? What do you believe should have been the series of events that would have led us to a better place than we're in now?
Well, here's the problem with discussing this. You always reset the clock at October 7th. Always.
But here's why.
But you're missing what led...
I'm not missing it.
Okay,
I know that the reason
remember
it
the
happened...
video that they circulated about you? Those punk ass white people on their pages on the right, they judge you for your reaction.
Yes.
But they didn't talk about what they have been doing.
That's exactly right. And I get it. October 7th didn't happen in a vacuum. I totally understand.
All right, folks, welcome back to Zees Political Arrow. In today's episode, we'll continue on with the Israel-Gaza debate with Bassem and Chris. Let's just say, Bassem's got the upper hand here, while Chris keeps trying to reset the clock back to October 7th. Bassem's calling out the bigger picture, decades of suffering that don't just appear with one event. Chris leans on emotional shock factors and oversimplified narratives. Bassem cuts through it, exposing the truth behind the headlines. If you want the real story, you're in the right place. Let's jump into it.
But it's also about your standard of what kind of retaliation you will submit to as a natural consequence. There's no question that there is a state of oppression in what's happening in Palestine. Israelis will mention that. In polls, they'll say that they don't like the way it is, except for Bibi's government and his ministers, which is, I believe, much more right, extreme, and anti-Palestine, anti-Brown, let's say, than the Israeli non-Brown population. So I know that. I know that October 7th wasn't the beginning. I know that for many, it was a cry of desperation. Okay. But what was done on October 7th, I don't think is subjective. I think objectively was something that was only done to provoke a response. You don't burn Jewish people and think that Israel's not going to come for you. Hamas, by all indications, which is why it got its leadership out of there, was anticipating exactly what happened. So assuming that you come in, you kill a bunch of their people, they're going to come for you. There's going to be warfare, okay? That's not a surprise to anybody. We would do the same thing, okay? And scale-wise, it was a big deal for Israel. What should have happened? We're 4 months in now, plus. What do you think should have happened? Like after the first week, do you believe that the world should have said, okay, that's enough? The numbers, they killed 1,000 or 1,500, whatever the number is. Now you've killed 10 times.
They already killed 5,000 in 2 weeks.
So let's say, should it have ended then? And if so, because that would be great, less killing is always better if you're humanistic. Then what? I don't understand the how of ending this right now. I know ceasefire, I get it. But how do I stop? I'll play Israel, okay? If I stop, okay, I'll stop. I'm beating you up too much. I'm killing too many people. I'm killing too many innocents. I'm killing too little Hamas. I can't get you. You're in the tunnels, and you have my people who I want back, who now I believe as many as a quarter of them are dead already.
Maybe more.
So they're supposed to matter. I'm not getting you anyway, and I'm killing all these innocents. I'll stop. How do they stop and not believe that they're not going to get attacked by Hamas as soon as Hamas
And how
can?
would Hamas stop not knowing that they believe that Israel will do the same? Here's the thing about October 7th. I think for both of our viewers, people who follow me and follow you, I think we really need to discuss the stuff that we can share information that I might not know. You've seen the video, I've not seen the video, the 47 minutes video. And I believe that what you've seen, other than the stuff that we've seen, you've seen people tied up, you've seen burnt corpses, you've seen mutilated bodies, right? Now, I want to talk about two things. Why is the connection about the Jewish people to Israel, which I understand, is that Jewish people have been persecuted for centuries. They've been pushed around from one country to another. They've been burned. They've been put in gas chambers. I really believe that kind of generational trauma is a huge thing that you cannot ignore. And that is why for them, Israel is not just a place. It's not just a country. It is an idea that no matter what happens to us in the world, we have a place that is strong, that can protect us, that it will never happen to us again. What happened in the under Babylon, under the Nazis, under the Russians, we have that place. So I understand that. And I understand the shock that happened on October 7th, like even that place is not safe anymore. So having said that, I want you to look at the other side. On the other side, every day for the Palestinian people is October 7th. Every day they are kidnapped from their homes. Every day they are killed. Every day I'm gonna come to the burning. I'm come to the atrocities. I'm not gonna miss anything. And I promise you, I would. Because here's the thing about conversation. The thing that how people lose conversation is that when I don't show you the empathy that is deserved for your pain, and I understand that. So I see that. When November 4th, the first exchange between the hostages, Israel released 240 children and women. 233 of them were never convicted. So basically, we call them prisoners because they're put in Israeli prison, but actually they go in the houses and they kidnap them on daily basis. Every single day, people are shot.
Well, they'll say it's a parallel system of justice for Israeli citizens, many of whom are not Jewish, right? And then there is this occupied, murky international standard of how you treat people when you are occupying them.
Yes.
And there's a different military type justice, but it is also deserving of scrutiny and criticism. And you have a lot of people without due process who've been held for a long time.
Absolutely. For Palestinians, they're sitting at their homes and they're being kidnapped every day from their homes. Israel is the only country in the world that tries children in front of military courts, and they have a 99.7 conviction rate. There's nowhere in the world you have 99.7 conviction rate. And sometimes it's like, but they are terrorists. Okay, Zainab Araqat, 2010, her husband were killed, and then she posted on Facebook, "May God unite us in heaven." And because of that, Israel went to her house and they detained her for 8 months for acts of terrorism. So when Israel goes in with civil clothes and kill people in the hospital, kill 3, like they are terrorists. Said who? Israel. Who decides? So the whole thing about like when you have out of the 240 people that were released by Israel, 107 were children, 65 were the age of 18, meaning that they were children when they acted. So the daily kidnapping happens and the daily killing happens there. We have just been microdosing it, and the world doesn't care about it until October 7th happens. Now let's talk about October 7th. October 7th is an atrocity. It's a terrorist attack. It's terrible, and no one can ever. I cannot even imagine the Israeli and the Israelis' parents and family that went through that, and also the Jewish people who, as I said, they are connected to that place, thinking them it's a safe haven. For them, it's shattering. The people who were, but the problem is what happened, what we saw yesterday or afterwards. Anthony Blinken went in front of Congress and he testified about an incident where Hamas terrorists went in. They gouged the father's eyes. They raped the mother. They chopped off her breasts. They amputated the child leg, and they cut the little fingers, the finger of a little boy, and then they had breakfast and laughing. That is a direct testimony from Zaka and Hezbollah United, 2 relief groups from Israel, that they have actually been exposed that all of the stuff that they said has been lies, and they have collected more than $50 million of donations because of these unverified lies. And this has been reported by the Israeli media, Haaretz, Channel 13, and Time of Israel. So this shock, the allegation, a huge part of it is something that you've seen burn bodies. But in the same time in Israel, people talk about the Hannibal Directive, where the Israel went in and indiscriminately, they shot Hellfire missiles from Apaches. They shot shells from tanks. There is an Israeli survivor. Her name is Yasmin Porat. She came on a podcast and she talked about being in a house with 14 other hostages and 40 terrorists, and said everybody was alive. And then the Israelis started their tanks shooting. All the 40 were killed, the terrorists, and 12 out of the 14 hostages were killed. That's an 85% kill rate. Now, let's talk about the decapitated babies. According to the official Israeli records, 1 baby was killed, Mila Cohen, 10 months, 12 children from the age to 2 to 9, 36 from the age from 12 to 19, a total of 49 innocent children who should never have been killed or even touched on that day. The biggest casualty was 421 people from the age of 20 or 40. The total number of people that killed with that day, 1,120 people, 29 people. 373 of them were police and military, and 759 civilians. No rape, no decapitation, nothing. All of these were refuted. Even the New York Times piece and the Guardian retracted them because they were taken for a ride. So if you have the highest rated official going in and saying lies, and now you created this image. I'm telling you, on the October 8th, when that happened, when I heard that the people were killed and decapitated, it's like, all of them. Go in and kill everybody. The Muslim, the Arabs, like that could, because that was the image I had. Does it make it less horrific that there are just 759 just killed, most of them killed by maybe firepower from the Israeli? No, it's still horrific. But you created that image so people now are prepared and prepped to go in and kill everybody. This is blind rage. And what we did right now, what did you say? You say one time, like, I'm done playing the game, I'm done refereeing the game, I need to expose the game. What we did right now is investigations of journalists. The 40 decapitated baby became a myth, and everybody now believes. So if I talk about them, nobody wants to.
I don't think everybody believes it.
But it was used as an emotional way to suck money, 50 million, and to allow people to say, all right, go and kill everybody.
There's no question that it was tremendously powerful, hearing that allegation.
So when I break down the numbers to you now, how do you
Here's
feel?
my problem with breaking down the numbers. It's not new to me, okay?
I'm sure that you know.
I've heard this, and I accept it, by the way. Now, I can't say I know, but I'll say I accept it, because I can say that about all the numbers. Okay?
Absolutely.
And I can say that about when I was covering war in Iraq and Afghanistan. If I don't see it, I guess I can trust. I mean, the numbers are always in round numbers, which is
but these are official numbers from the Israelis.
I understand, but I don't know that makes them true. It's like,
So who do you believe? These are
But I'm saying I think it's a problem.
Okay.
Because why? Well, because of motivation. If I get attacked and I'm going to give you the description of the damage, there's every incentive for me to exaggerate it, because I'm hurt. And I want people to know how hurt I am, and I certainly don't want to discount my hurt. So I'm not saying anybody's lying. I'm just saying that.
But you know why
there's
it's a person
plenty of
for
lying
me?
that
You know
happens.
why it's a person for me? Because right now, as we're speaking, the uncles and the cousins of my children in Gaza, they have lost all of their homes. They are still alive. They are all now cramped in one apartment in one building in Rafah. And as we speak, one bomb can drop on them right now, annihilating my whole family. And that happened because of lies that were propagated, making people accept that Israel can go and do whatever they want.
That accept. And again, you're right, okay? You're certainly right to feel that way. This is your family. There is a but-for analysis. You can say but for October 6th, there is no October 7th. Okay. But for October 7th, you don't have what happens after it. Now, even if it's exaggerated, even if some of the things are not true and were done to create emotional firestorms, okay, there is still a reality of brutality, terroristic actions, atrocities, whatever word you want to apply, it doesn't matter.
Call it terrorist. I'm not invested in.
But I'm saying it doesn't matter how you break down the numbers and if it's less than what we know. Does it matter that it's less than what we know? Yes, because you should be aware of what's exaggerated and what's acted upon and what's exploited. You're right on all of it in terms of checking motivations. It is still the precipitating cause of what came after it. And I believe it was done to create what happened after it. Now, where does this take us? The only place that matters, which is how do you stop the violence now? That's my only concern about litigating the past.
Absolutely.
It's not that I don't have a position, so it doesn't matter to me.
What's happening right now is a classic case of we are treating the symptoms and we're not treating the cause.
Bassem Youssef didn't just counter Chris's argument, he dismantled them. With surgical precision, he exposed the propaganda machinery that justifies indiscriminate carnage, showing us how cooked up horror stories and inflated numbers fuel blind Western support for Israel's brutality. Sure, Chris tried to play both sides referee, but every time he leaned on that crutch, Bassem hit him with cold hard facts, like how Israel's justice system treats Palestinian children like pre-marked criminals, or how mainstream media gobbles up Zionist fairy tales without blinking. Chris's biggest flaw? Assuming that Hamas's action actions were the precipitating cause of all this, as if Palestinians weren't already being strangled, bombed, and brutalized for decades, as if October 7th materialized out of nowhere, rather than being the natural consequences of an apartheid state, keeping 2 million people in an open-air prison. And let's not even get started on the idea that Israel's retaliation is about defense. When your military kills more civilians in 2 weeks than Hamas has in its entire history, you're not defending yourself, you're on a genocidal rampage. Bassem masterfully exposed the moral gymnastics of Western discourse on Israel. The minute Palestinians fight back, it's terrorism, but Israel can commit massacres, erase entire families, and execute children with sniper rifles. And somehow, that's just security measures? The real question is how this ends. It's when the world stops pretending Israel is the victim, while it's the one holding the whip. If you want raw, unfiltered truth that cuts through the propaganda, subscribe to Zees Political Arrow, where we expose the lies, challenge the narratives, and shoot straight at the heart of global politics. Please share, like, and hit that bell button for notifications. I'll catch you guys on the next one.